Hi, my name's Isaac, and this is my brother's 2000 Toyota Tundra. And this is the 2-year update for the truck. And we've nearly reached 200,000 miles. A lot of twos, I know. But in this video, I want to show you guys everything that's held up on the truck, the stuff that we've replaced, and all of the other little intricacies that we've noticed over the last 2 years. I say intricacies because I'm not 100% sure if Doug DeMiro has copyrighted the word quirks or not, and so, I just wanted to play it safe. Now, this very well may be the first time you're seeing me talk about my brother's truck. I've done a couple other videos, which I'll link above, but I'll give you a quick rundown on the history of his ownership of it. So summer 2020, flashback. My brother turned 16, he got his driver's license, and we were looking for a vehicle for him, specifically a pickup truck because he helps me with landscaping and my truck isn't always available. So we looked far and wide for a truck for him, and he only had $5,000 that he wanted to put down on the truck. And believe me, that was really difficult. And I'm sure you know, if you're in the market for a pickup truck, finding a truck in even decent condition for under $10,000 is nearly impossible at this point. And we searched and we searched and we went out and we looked at so many clunkers. But eventually I was on the app Let Go, and kind of like Craigslist, and I found this truck way out on this guy's farm about 2 hours away from me. And I said, well, let me go look at it. It'll at least be a fun adventure. And so I drove out and I looked at the truck. It drove phenomenally. Yeah, there was some dings and scratches and a little bit of rust on the back and the front bumpers, but it wasn't anything unmanageable. I told him, this is the truck we want. And so I went and I got my brother and I brought him back and we looked at the truck. He loved it. And so we settled on $4,700 for this. Now, wait, I know. This is like far more valuable in the truck market at this point. It's crazy. I've had very angry comments in the last couple of months that were like, on the previous videos, that were like, $4,700 for that? That's insane. How did you get that deal? Well, at that point in time, the car market wasn't as crazy as it is now, and I believe it was a blessing from God that we got this truck for this price. Now, it wasn't perfect. It had about 182,000 miles on it, I believe, when we got it. Now it's got almost 200,000 on it. We'll talk about that a little bit more. And the radiator blew almost immediately. Like within, I'd say probably 2 weeks, the radiator blew. That's actually in my first video on this truck. I pulled it up to do the video and it just started leaking. And I'm like, this is not good. So we finished the video and we took it down to the mechanic and we found out that part of the tubes for the radiator and I think the engine coolant had mixed together and they had ruined the radiator, and they had just started leaking everywhere. So we got that fixed. I think that was about $800 for everything to have it flushed, get a new radiator, all new tubes and piping in here. But for the most part, that's been the biggest repair on this truck. And we've done a couple tiny repairs in the last year, and it's held up quite well. So today I just want to talk about all that stuff I've done in the last year. And if you wanted to see what we did in the first year, I do have a first year video. Again, I'll link that up there. So I'm going to give you guys a walk around of the exterior, and then we'll move to the interior and we'll take it for a quick drive. One of the first things I want to address is a lot of comments say, oh man, that truck is so clean. Well, I show you guys a lot of far away shots of it, and honestly, I wash and I wax it before I do these videos. So normally the truck's very dirty, and also there is definitely a lot of imperfections on this truck. So we're going to get up close and personal, and I'm going to show you some. For example, right here, there was rust on both headlights, right above the headlights. So I just masked that off and painted over it with Rust-Oleum. I figure, you know what, it worked. It's a 20-year-old truck. My brother does want it to look nice, but like I said, it's normally covered in dirt and we use it pretty hard for landscaping. This entire hood is covered in hail damage, little tiny hail bits, and it's just the hood, which is very interesting. I don't know if this hood was replaced at some point, but there's no other hail damage anywhere else on the truck. So I don't know if maybe the hood was just sticking out. Maybe he had it parked under something and just the hood got hit. But Regardless, you know, there's some rust down here and some rust over here. These are pretty minimal spots that I haven't really adjusted here on the chrome. I think it's just been okay. Moving on though to the side of the truck, we do have new tires. My brother got these replaced in the last year. They are 265/70R tires, I believe, yes. And they are a little bit beefier than what he had stock. And he wanted something that was a little bit more capable off-roading. We've taken this off-roading a little bit. You can see that video. I'll link that above as well. I'm gonna link a lot of videos above in this video. One thing you may note is that these wheels are not stock. They are actually FJ Cruiser wheels, but when we bought the truck, they included them. So we've just kept them on, and it's been kind of interesting. It's given the truck a little bit more of a lift because these are 17s. The stock wheels were 16s. And you know, these have definitely seen better days. They're really chipping and fading away, kind of eroding in certain spots. But again, it's a truck that we use for work a lot of the time. All things considered, the rest of the side of the truck back here is actually pretty good. It's funny though, I washed and I waxed it. And this is the first time waxing this truck, and I have noticed some spray paint, it looks like right here and here, that I've never noticed before because the paint has never glistened this much. So I'm noticing all the big scratches and the other imperfections. So maybe I shouldn't have waxed it. Maybe that was a bad idea. But moving to the back here, a tow hitch on here. We've towed a little bit with it, but we've wanted to be careful just because it is such an old truck not to push it to its max towing. And then you might notice right here that the handle for the tailgate is a little off center. That is because it broke within the year. We ended up just getting another one, taking the back of the tailgate off and replacing it, but we didn't line up the bolts just right. So it works though, and that's what's important. So he also has installed a North Mountain tonneau cover. We got this on Amazon. Really nice tonneau cover. It fits really well. I was surprised they had a first gen Tundra match tonneau cover. That seems kind of rare in the market, but you know, you just pull this and that lifts right up right there, and it's a roll-up tonneau, which is what he wanted. He didn't want a trifold. He wanted something similar to the one that I had on my Tacoma. I think we fitted the bill quite well. Down here, you'll have a backup camera. I'll talk about that a little bit more when we move. The gas door broke, so I just kind of taped it like here. You need a key for this gas door, which I think is kind of annoying, but it is a very late 90s, early 2000s thing. So what ended up happening was the key just got stuck inside here, and we couldn't get it out, so we broke this, and we got it out. And you know, it's so rusty, which is really funny, that you can it kind of just works. It kind of just recloses, so it doesn't really matter. It doesn't tend to fly out, but that is a kind of an intricacy of the truck that my brother has learned to deal with. I mean, look at this giant scratch right here. This is so funny. You could not see this as prevalently until I waxed it, and I'm like, drats, I've made this truck look worse. But I'm sure my brother won't mind because, again, it's just a landscaping truck. I think that brings us to the interior. I don't think there's anything else that I haven't already talked about on the exterior. So getting inside here, still very clean. One of the things that I absolutely loved when I got to looking at this truck was how there's no scratches, there's no tears in the fabric here. I mean, it is immaculately clean. Yeah, there's maybe a little bit of staining and fading. I've tried to get that out upon cleaning it, but for the most part, it's just super well taken care of in here, which was surprising because this was a farm truck, but the previous owner did a good job, and it was dusty in here. It was very dusty, but I'm surprised there wasn't more rips and tears and stuff, but even the headliner is in great condition. And so hopping in here, my brother has gotten a steering wheel cover, and he loves it. It kind of matches the rest of the interior. And, you know, everything else has held up quite well in here. The most major repair that we've had to do on the truck, apart from an O2 sensor, is right here, the ignition. I'm going to try to get the keys out. So the ignition, and I mentioned this when I did the review on the 400,000 mile Tundra that I did semi-recently within the last year, was he would go to turn it on, you know, it would start up fine, do everything, but when he would go to take the key out, the key would not come out. Now, I'm obviously just miming this. It works now. We got the ignition replaced. That was a fairly hefty price to get that replaced, but thankfully it all works now. It's all good, and that does seem to be a Tundra problem across the board, is just not being able to pull that key out and it getting stuck, and you'd have to shake it a little bit. But, you know, there was that. There was an O2 sensor, and then his brakes and his tires in the last year. So not a bunch of repairs, at least not as many as you'd think, on a 22-year-old truck, which is great. And then starting it up here, I'll talk a little bit about the interior, just go over some things that I've mentioned before, and maybe some stuff that I haven't. So just there is an exorbitant amount of cigarette ports in here. I don't know if they were just really on the cutting edge of USBs, or they assumed every Toyota Tundra owner was just a massive smoker, because like I said, so many cigarette ports in here. I guess 3, but that's still above average, I would think. Right here you have pop-out cup holders. Absolutely love to see that. The late 90s, early 2000s were full of those fun little, oh my goodness, we should put cup holders in, and how are we gonna do that? So that's nice. And the AC and everything works, all the air conditioning and all the climate controls work. It was really funny. I'm gonna tell this story. My brother's gonna hate me. He's like, I don't think my air conditioning works. And I said, why? And he said, well, I turned it all the way to blue and it's still kind of warm. And I said, did you hit the AC button? And he went, oh no, there's an AC button. Oh, I didn't do that now. And I hit it, and we got in the truck and I hit it, and the air got cold very quickly. And he went, oh, huh, interesting. And I was like, it's okay, Tuck, you're totally fine. We all learn. Some people might not know that that is a button initially.
Tucker Zimmerman here, current owner of that 2000 Toyota Tundra. And it's come to my attention that there's some things that I need to address in regards to possible negligence or ignorance in regards to my truck. And first and foremost, the air conditioning. For the time that I've had it, I assumed when you turned it to the cold blue dial and turned the air conditioning on, that it would blow out cold air. Unbeknownst to me, you'd have to press the AC button.
Yeah, that's how most cars work. Yeah.
I am 17 years old, up and coming child. My brain is not.
Strange turn of phrase.
Brain is not fully developed.
Moving to the radio real quick, I want to throw it into reverse. Here's the backup camera. You know, it's not super great quality, but it works. It does have guiding lines that turn with the truck, but they kind of decide to turn whenever they want. And then moving into the gauge cluster right here, there's 2 things I'd like to highlight. One is the odometer right here. 195,927 miles on this. So we're almost there to 200,000. And the truck still runs great. Doesn't feel like it's got that many miles on it. And that's kind of just a first-gen Tundra thing. Really, any Toyota of this era is known to just go. And I love that. Very confident that this truck could make it to 400,000 miles because I've been in one that has. And then moving over here, there is a check engine light. Now, I use this little OBD2 plug sensor I got on Amazon called Fixed. It has an app. You can plug it in. It tells you exactly what code the engine is throwing. It is I think it's an emissions code on this particular check engine light. It's not anything that's going to blow the engine up. So, really love that Fixed OBD2 plug. Not sponsored by them at all, but it's really helpful to just quickly tell, is this something that I can fix? Is it something I need to take into a mechanic? Or is this something that I can kind of hold off on for now? So really useful in that regard. When I initially went out to go look at this truck for my brother, the first thing that really drew me towards it was how smoothly it drove. I was just shocked at how smooth the 4.7 liter V8 in this was. I thought it would be way boxier, but it handled great. And after looking at a lot of junkers, old S10s, F-150s, maybe some Ford Rangers. I mean, this was just night and day difference in this Tundra. And I wasn't even initially looking for a Tundra. I knew that a 2000s era Tacoma and maybe even a Tundra just would be unattainable for $5,000. And that was before we went into this crazy vehicle market that we're in today. And so I had mostly been looking for American manufacturers, and then this came along, and I'm so thankful because it just feels very solidly built, and it's held up great over the years, and I love it. My brother loves it. It's a great talking point truck, and we're actually going to come up on another 2000s era black Tundra. We're gonna pass it here. That's funny, you don't see many of those. Oh, that was an SR5 because it's got the chrome mirror caps. And so, you know, it's just a great truck overall that's really held up in a phenomenal way. So that is gonna conclude my video, guys. I really hope that you've enjoyed watching. If you did, if you could leave a like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate that. Lastly, I am a Christian, so if you have any prayer requests, you can leave those in the comment section below. And I like to do a weekly Bible verse. I've been getting better at memorizing the scripture or bringing my Bible out, and that wouldn't be very good while I'm driving right now. And unfortunately, I don't have anything memorized because this was kind of a spur-of-the-moment video. Now I'm going to school for youth ministry, and contrary to popular belief, not all people in ministry have the entire Bible memorized. There's actually very few that I think actually do. And so I can't just pull a verse out of my mind with all of the context and everything immediately. So what I'm gonna do is in editing, I'm gonna throw a verse up right here, and I'm gonna look for something that can hopefully encourage you, but also point you towards Christ and reading your Bible. So with that, guys, I'll see you next time. Take care.